The Darksaber is an incredibly ancient and unique black-bladed lightsaber that was created by the first and only Mandalorian to ever be inducted into the Jedi Order, Tarre Vizsla. After it was forged by Tarre Vizsla and used by him until his death, it was stored deep inside of a secure vault at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant for many years. Unfortunately for the Jedi Order, members of Tarre Vizsla's Mandalorian house, House Vizsla, reclaimed the sacred weapon from the grip of the Jedi Order during the fall of the Old Republic, bringing it back into the hands of House Vizsla for the first time in a long time. So I'm going to break down every single owner of the Darksaber and why it is so important to Mando's future after Grogu was taken by Luke Skywalker. Before we get into it, make sure to smash the subscribe button for more awesome Star Wars lore content. The Darksaber is an incredibly unique black-bladed lightsaber, and there is only one of them in existence. The blade of this unique weapon is shorter than most other lightsabers and is shaped like a regular sword with a distinctly Mandalorian-shaped hilt. The sound that the Darksaber emits is also a much higher pitched screech than regular lightsabers, in part because of its unique darkened Kyber crystal inside, which powers the blade and serves as a conduit for the force to flow through the weapon. Awesomely, the blade of the Darksaber has a unique electrical effect which becomes heavily intensified when the user of the weapon becomes enraged or angry. Finally, the blade also becomes much lighter once its user gains more and more experience with it, and even attracts other lightsaber blades towards its core with an almost magnetic pull. The Darksaber is respected by all Mandalorians as a symbol for the leadership of House Vizsla, and also on most occasions for all of Mandalore. So who was the first to hold the Darksaber after Tarre Vizsla? After the Darksaber was stolen back from the Jedi Order by House Vizsla, descendants of this ruthless Mandalorian house used the weightless blade to slaughter countless Jedi and rule the whole of Mandalore for many years without challenge. During the Clone Wars, the Darksaber came into the hands of the governor of Concordia, which is the moon of the ravaged planet Mandalore. Concordia's governor, Tarre Vizsla, was also the secret leader of an extreme Mandalorian group known as the Death Watch, who sought to overthrow the peaceful rule of Duchess Satine Kryze, who had come into power on Mandalore through a pacifist form of government, in stark contrast to Mandalore's warrior past. Second in command to Death Watch also happened to be the sister of Duchess Satine Kryze, Bo-Katan Kryze, so if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you will now know her from The Mandalorian Season 2. Eventually, Tarre Vizsla's affiliation with the ruthless Death Watch group was discovered, causing a fierce confrontation between Vizsla and the Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi, where Kenobi came out on top after an intense battle in the Death Watch hideout on Concordia. And for those of you who are watching this because you haven't seen the Clone Wars, this Death Watch group is the same one that rescued DJARIN during the Clone Wars, before evolving into a different group called the Children of the Watch, sometime after the Mandalorian Great Purge. Not long after the Death Watch name becoming public knowledge to the citizens of Mandalore, Tarre Vizsla and Bo-Katan were forced to go into exile and formed a new base of operations on the icy world of Karlak, before eventually discovering the two Zabrak brothers, Savage Opress and Darth Maul, who of course was no longer a Sith Lord. Maul, Savage and the Death Watch then formed a strong alliance together, with Maul also creating a group of the galaxy's most disgraceful and dodgy criminals called the Shadow Collective. This Shadow Collective included the Pike Syndicate, the Hutt Clan, and also the Black Sun Crime Syndicate. It also later went on to include the Crimson Dawn Crime Syndicate, which you will probably remember from Solo: A Star Wars Story. The goal of this group was to once again overthrow the Duchess of Mandalore, Satine, and place it under the control of Tarre Vizsla and the Death Watch. To do this, the Shadow Collective would fake an invasion of Mandalore and then have the Death Watch come to the rescue of the citizens in order to show that Duchess Satine was extremely weak and that the Death Watch were the only ones strong enough to rule Mandalore and to save the citizens from the crime lords. This plan actually worked, but Tarre Vizsla betrayed Maul and Savage Opress, tossing them into a prison cell on Mandalore. Not long after, however, Maul and his brother viciously broke their way out of the prison cell, and Maul, a non-Mandalorian, challenged Tarre Vizsla to a traditional Mandalorian battle. Under Mandalorian tradition, a request to battle in this way could not be refused, and even further, if the person who was being fought held the Darksaber, the winner of that fight would become the new holder of the Darksaber and the ruler of Mandalore. The two went head to head in a ferocious battle, locking their red and black blades together time and time again, until eventually, Maul took the upper hand and disarmed Tarre Vizsla. As Tarre Vizsla knew he was defeated, he bowed his head towards the floor and allowed Maul to cleanly slice his head off with honor. This monumental event split the group Death Watch into two: those who would accept an outsider as the ruler of Mandalore, called the Super Commandos, and those who would never accept an outsider, called the Night Owls, led by Bo-Katan. The holder of the Darksaber is now Maul. Only a short while after taking hold of the Darksaber, MAUL was viciously attacked by his former master, Darth Sidious, where he was cruelly defeated and his brother was brutally executed right in front of him. This technically makes Palpatine the temporary holder of the Darksaber, since he defeated MAUL in single combat, but Palpatine had no interest in Mandalorian tradition, causing him to throw the ancient blade to the floor, to be later collected by Prime Minister Olmec, who will be very important later as MAUL's puppet Prime Minister of Mandalore. Not long after this, MAUL is rescued by his loyal Mandalorian super commandos from a highly secure and horrid prison on the cold world of Stygian Prime, which you might remember from Star Wars Rebels, where the body of Master Luminara was held. At the end of the Clone Wars, however, MAUL was captured by Ahsoka Tano and her clone troopers of the 332nd Company at the Siege of Mandalore, before later escaping into the galaxy, losing interest in Mandalore. Because of this, he left the Darksaber to rot in his lair on his homeworld of Dathomir, where it was picked up and taken hold of by the rebel Mandalorian named SABINE WREN. Now, because she didn't defeat MAUL in single combat to obtain the blade, she wasn't technically the holder, but she was considered the holder by the rebels for this time. And with The Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 8 coming out, this is now very controversial, and I'll get deeper into that in just a bit. After returning from Dathomir to the rebel base on Atollon, SABINE WREN handed the Darksaber to Kanan Jarrus, a survivor of the Great Jedi Purge and master of Ezra Bridger, because she did not believe that she was ready to rule Mandalore and unite all of Mandalore's houses and clans under one leader. At this point, SABINE was in exile from her own Clan Wren, because as a child, she left the Imperial Academy to join the rebels at a young age after having designed a super weapon that could melt Mandalorians in their Beskar armor, making her believe that she was a traitor to her own people. SABINE eventually traveled to a remote location on the planet Atollon to train her combat skills with the Dark Blade, hoping to be able to defend herself with it, knowing that it would put a massive target on her back. After training and becoming proficient with the blade, SABINE traveled back to her homeworld, the Mandalorian world of Cronest, where she hoped to repair the strained relationship with her family in Clan Wren. Once there, however, her mother, Ursa Wren, was extremely disappointed that she had not obtained the blade in single combat from MAUL, and because of this, tried to trade the Darksaber to the Imperial Governor of Mandalore, Gar Saxon, who was in charge of keeping the clans of Mandalore under the iron fist of the Empire. She did this so that Clan Wren would be shielded from SABINE's treacherous actions against the Empire and grant them safety, but unfortunately, Gar Saxon did not keep his word and tried to assassinate Ursa Wren with the Darksaber, while signaling for his men to massacre and slaughter the rest of Clan Wren. Eventually, SABINE and Saxon began a ferocious battle, with SABINE eventually knocking Saxon to the ground and holding the Darksaber and Ezra Bridger's green lightsaber to his throat, ready to execute him. If she had done this, she probably would have been viewed as the rightful holder of the Darksaber and the rightful ruler of Mandalore, but instead she chose to spare him. But obviously, under Mandalorian tradition, you don't have to kill the person to earn the Darksaber and the right to rule Mandalore. Fortunately, however, Ursa Wren chose to kill Gar Saxon anyway, with a single blaster bolt to the chest. After this, SABINE WREN stayed on Cronest with her family while the rebels continued their quest to defeat the Empire in hopes of searching for the true holder of the Darksaber and the worthy leader of Mandalore. Not long after, SABINE led a mission to the planet Mandalore to rescue her father, who had been taken as a political prisoner by the Empire. While there, she encountered Bo-Katan, the former member of Death Watch, and offered her the blade, but she refused to take it. Eventually, however, SABINE was able to destroy the super weapon which she created for the Empire to decimate all Mandalorians, and eventually convinced Bo-Katan to take hold of the Darksaber, handing it to her without a fight. In doing this, Bo-Katan accepted the rulership of Mandalore and united all of its clans together in honor of her fallen sister, Satine. Unfortunately, however, by the year 9 ABY, a cataclysmic event known as the Great Purge took place on Mandalore, where the Empire had slaughtered many Mandalorians using orbital bombardment, causing them to hide out in the sewers of backwater planets and try not to reveal their locations. Unfortunately, sometime during this event, Imperial Moff Gideon somehow acquired the weapon from Bo-Katan, making him the next holder of the Darksaber. It's not really clear just how he got the ancient black blade, but I don't think he defeated Bo-Katan in a traditional Mandalorian battle and took the blade after she had defeated him. Instead, I think he tricked her and stole it while she was distracted. Maybe she even traded the Darksaber to Gideon in return for him to stop the orbital bombardment of Mandalore, but then once he got the blade, he just continued anyway. Really, Gideon probably couldn't beat Bo-Katan in a one-on-one battle, just based on how we've seen him fight so far. And now we move straight onto the current holder of the Darksaber, Din Djarin. Din Djarin boarded Moff Gideon's Arquitens class light cruiser in hopes of rescuing Grogu, and when he eventually arrived in the prison holding cell of the ship, he saw Grogu cuffed and being held at Darksaber point by Moff Gideon. Gideon initially pretended to be okay with Mando taking Grogu, as long as he could keep the Darksaber, but as you know, he's not the most honourable man, and turned the Dark Blade on Mando, striking him directly on his Beskar armour. Gideon battled against Mando's Beskar spear given to him by Ahsoka from Morgan Elsbeth, fighting ferociously. Soon after, Mando was able to disarm Gideon surprisingly quickly and claim the saber for himself. Of course, by accident. Following this, Din Djarin had absolutely no interest in ruling Mandalore and offered the Darksaber back to Bo-Katan, who of course ruled before Gideon, but unlike the time with Sabine, this time she refused to take it. And I'm sure we'll find out a lot more about why she didn't take it in season 3, but for now, check out my video on the potential reasons in the card on screen now and the pinned comment down below. So that is every single holder of the Darksaber. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.